I just want to finish out the video with like 4 shout outs to specific books. I want to do like best book, worst book, most surprising book, and most disappointing book. Maybe I shouldn't do them in that order. That's kind of sad. Maybe I should flip that around. I'll start with the most disappointing book and then work my way to the best book. Let's do that. That will be better. And so the most disappointing book, and this is not the worst book that I read this year, not at all, but it's Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. Now, I didn't hate this book at all. I gave it a 3.5. It's okay, you know. It's a little better than average, but it's not quite a 4. It's not quite a great. But the reason why this is disappointing is because my mother had really raved about this book. She was like, you're gonna love it. It's like a new favorite. It's amazing. And I really like the Tudor era. I'm a big Philippa Gregory fan. I'm obsessed with her like Tudor and Wars of the Roses books. So this is an era that I really enjoy. And I'd never read a book that followed Thomas Cromwell before. And he's a really interesting person in history. You know, he did a lot of interesting things and, you know, kind of came out of nowhere. And so I was really excited to read this. And I don't know, I kept flipping back and forth on how I felt on it. You know, it was very well written, obviously, like it's very impressive. This is not a shit book, let's just say that. It's just, the writing style wasn't quite for me, I think, or like, sometimes when I would sit down to read it, I would like really enjoy it and I would get really swept away by the writing style, but sometimes I would just find it kind of a struggle. It kind of depended on what my mood was. So like, it's not a bad book. It's just, it's a lot different from what I expected in a bad way. Like I expected this to be like a 5-star new favorite. And now I'm like unsure if I want to continue with the trilogy. I think I will, but I'm not like hankering to get the next book. I'm like, maybe, you know, so that's it's a little sad. I really wanted to absolutely love this. And I didn't. So that makes it the most disappointing book that I read this year. The most surprising book I read this year, I have to say, was Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. Now, it's not surprising that I really liked this book. I did. I gave it a 4.5. It wasn't quite a 5-star for me, but it was close. It was really close. So I wasn't surprised that I liked it. I was expecting to really like it, just based on what I'd heard about it. But it was a lot darker than I expected. Because I'd heard it compared to like Narnia, Alice in Wonderland, you know, like these like childish, like lovely, cute stories, right? They're like whimsy, magic, fun. And I mean, there's a little bit of that, but this book is a lot darker and a lot weirder and stranger and like, you know, I was really surprised by how dark this got and how gruesome this got. I'm easily frightened and I'm like kind of a chicken, so I thought a few parts of it were like real creepy. So I'm sure that like if you read horror, you're not gonna blink at this. But yeah, so like because there's this mystery aspect in here, and it got a lot darker and a lot bloodier and a lot more, you know, than I ever expected this book to do. I thought it was just gonna be like this super sweet, super cute, super fluffy, like wholesome story. I don't know why I thought that. I heard like, oh, it's like a school for kids who've like gone to like Narnia-esque worlds and come back. And I was like, oh, that sounds so cute, right? But it wasn't cute in that way. It wasn't cute in that way, but I still really liked it. It's just, it wasn't quite what I had expected. Now, let's do the worst book, which I actually don't have. We don't own it, but I got it from the library. And that's the only book that I gave 2 stars this year. I didn't give a single 1-star. I only gave 1 2-star. So it has to be that book. Obviously, it has to be that one that's the worst. And that's Crossroads of Twilight by Robert Jordan. So once again, we're going back to Wheel of Time. This is the 10th Wheel of Time book, and if you know anything about the Wheel of Time series, you know that people generally talk about a slog. The series is 14 books long, and then there's a prequel as well, but 14 books in the main series, and people talk about there being a slog from book 7 or 8, depending on who you ask, through book 10. And pretty much everyone would agree that book 10 is the worst, or like the sloggiest, the slowest. And I have to agree. I thought the slog started in book 6. I thought book 6 was sloggy and the book 7 was good again. So for me, the slog was book 6, 8, 9, 10. And I still gave book 6, 8, and 9 3 stars. I still thought they were okay. And they had really good endings. Like, they were huge endings in book 6, 8, and 9. I don't remember exactly what they were. There's so many books, they're kind of blending together in my head, but I know there were. It was super epic, and you were like reading the last couple chapters going like, what? Like, oh my god. Like, you were like loving it. And so that obviously helps with your feeling when you finish the book. Book 10 was, very slow throughout the book, as were, I think, book 6, 8, 9. But there was like no explosive ending. Like, something interesting happened at the end, but it was like half a page. Like, it was so fast and then it was over. You were sitting there like, huh? Like, I got through all that for nothing. Like, I was very frustrated. I was very mad. Um, because at least the others, they gave me something awesome at the end, so I didn't have to feel so cheated. But book 10 really didn't. Crossroads of Twilight, it really didn't. And so I was like, ugh. So I gave it a 2-star. It's the first 2-star I've ever given on Goodreads, because I only just got Goodreads this year. And so I was just disappointed, honestly. But then it really picked up after that. Book 11 gave 4.5, and I'd never given more than a 4 to Wheel of Time before that. And then I gave a 4.5 to book 12 as well. So honestly, the slog was kind of rough. But after that, I think the series has been the best it's ever been. Like, I think it's better than before the slog. So to me, it was super worth it. And now that I've gone through the slog, I'm super enjoying where I'm at, being halfway through the second to last book. I'm very happy with that. So I don't regret reading Crossroads of Twilight. I don't regret getting through that, but ugh, it was a lot. It was a lot. Now, finally, I want to end with my absolute favorite book of the year. That's a book I've already held up once, and it's Daisy Jones and the Six. Now, I'm sure you've heard so much about this book. It came out last year in 2019, and it was a big hit. A lot of people were reading it last year, and this year as well. And so it's a historical fiction about a rock band in the late 60s, early 70s. I don't remember exactly, but it's very what's it called? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's very that. It's written in an interview transcript format, so there's no description or anything like that. It's pretty much all just interview. It's just people speaking, basically. And I loved that. I'm sure some people wouldn't enjoy that, but for me, I'm a big fan of documentaries. And so reading this felt like watching a documentary, pretty much. So for me, that worked very well. I know some people have said that the audiobook is absolutely amazing because it's a full cast and they do it obviously it's really suited to an audiobook, being that it's interviews. I'm not an audiobook person at all. I didn't listen to a single audiobook this year. Every single thing that I've mentioned, I read physical book. No ebooks, no audiobooks. So for me, I didn't listen to the audiobook, but I know it's supposed to be great. So if you like audiobooks, maybe check this one out. But for me, even as someone who read it physically, I thought it was amazing. It made me cry. It made me, this is the only book that I actually wrote a review for on Goodreads. I usually don't write anything. I just I give it a rating and then move on. I didn't write a lot, but I did write something because I had to say something because I love it. I read 6 5-star books this year, and I love them all, but when I was sitting down to pick okay, which of my 5 stars was my favorite, this one I had to go with this one. It's so cool, and it's so emotional, and I thought the book would go in a certain direction, and I really didn't want it to do that. I would have been very mad if it did, but then it totally didn't, and I was like, oh, thank God. I was so thankful that it didn't go that way. Yeah, just an absolutely great book. I'm sure a lot of you have already read it because it was so hyped last year, but if you haven't, do it. It's not going to take you long. It's only 300 something pages. It's barely 350 pages. And because it's written the way it is, you get through it quickly. It's definitely not slow. So I loved it. You should read it if you haven't. So that was all that I was going to talk about today. I hope it was better than my first video. Honestly, that's all I care about. I think I liked my setup better. I felt more loose. So hopefully that came across. The next video that I'm thinking of doing is basically like a full yearly wrap up, like going through like every single book I read this year. I mean, not super extensively. I'm not gonna spend like 5 minutes on each book because then the video would be insanely long. I'm gonna try and, you know, speed it up. But still, I want to show you like every book I read this year and give you like a brief, what is it about? Did I like it? You know? So that's the next video that I'm planning to film, and hopefully it won't be in too long, a couple days, something like that. And yeah, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you back next time.